Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Divine Mind podcast. My name is Liam, or Hydrosneak Keneally, and today we have Precellence. I've been trying to say it right for like the last 2 or 3
Yeah, that's
minutes.
good. You got it. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, excellent. So, I'm gonna just call you Press for the interview, just to keep it nice and easy.
Yep.
Press is a Halo streamer. Focuses on that BTB and Warzone side of things. But trust, I saw you when you were streaming all the Halo Infinite content. You're in there just putting in hours with the pros in the arena settings as well.
Oh, really? Okay, full on sweaty here. Here we go. Love this map.
So
Yeah.
sweat it up. But I'm really looking forward to having a chat and just the same thing that we normally do on the podcast, guys. When you get to know Press a little bit more, have a good conversation about some of the time that he spent in the Fortnite side of things, competing, going through the BTB scene, some companies, that type of stuff. And then we'll just get to know him a little bit more as well with some of his hobbies and the stuff that he likes to do. But we'll keep it nice and easy. So thanks for taking the time to come and chat to me, man.
Yep, no problem.
Awesome. So when did you start gaming? Have you always been a gamer since you were a kid?
Yeah, so coincidentally, the very first game I ever played was Halo CE. And you got to think here. So I was born in 1997. So I was around like 4 or 5 when my dad got, in 2001, he got a console. And very first game I played was Halo CE. We actually did some LAN parties. Like he'd have his friends from work and, we do LAN parties. And it's just crazy. That was my first game. Like, I also played some Splinter Cell Hitman, like Rainbow Six. So I've always played some shooters and games like that. But so that's where I started. It was all the way back with Halo CE. And, I continued on with the whole franchise. I was mainly, I didn't really get into the multiplayer until later on around like MCC, Halo 5, actually. And the big reason that really got me into that is I actually really love sports, right? So, loved sports growing up. Played football, lacrosse, and in high school, I tore my ACL twice, actually. First time lacrosse, second time football. And that's really what got me into, putting, I guess, my more competitive outlet into gaming and streaming. Yeah. And that's really what took that off. And so basically, I didn't start streaming until around 2017. I think that was like around the second year of Halo 5, and it just really took off from there. I saw there wasn't really any BTB Warzone streamers at the time, and it really, that was a good place for me to have a unique approach, I guess, to content creating and streaming, because, that was a place that no one really was making any content for Halo.
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. And I'm going to tell you straight up, we've done probably close to 50 episodes of the podcast now. And I ask people that question, and it usually just goes completely sidetracked. But you somehow managed to give us a quick sum up of like starting with Halo and getting into content creation in like 2 minutes. So I love it. It's the best kind of content, right? People are going to watch it and be like, hey, that makes a lot of sense. But when you were kind of playing through, obviously you started with CE. Which was your favorite Halo? Which was the one that you kind of got into the most?
The best one I think in the whole franchise is Halo 2, and it's like just overall from the multiplayer, the maps, the soundtrack, the campaign. I just think that's just the best. Like I think that's peak Halo experience. I know you have a bunch of people with Halo 3, and then you have the new younger fan base with Halo 5, but I think Halo 2 overall encompasses the peak Halo experience just overall.
Yeah,
that's my personal favorite.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I think that one of the big things that kind of makes up people's opinions for like which Halos is the best is just the probably one that they either played the most of when they were younger, because most people have got a fondness for good memories, right? And
Yeah.
like I came into Halo at Halo 3, and it was this, like you were talking about, you were at LANs and stuff with your dad and his friends when you were like
LAN parties, not like LAN events, but LAN parties where you'd have two Xboxes system link hooked up and 8 people at home. That's where I started.
Dude, that's like the dream though. Like I love that stuff. And like I didn't get to experience that until I was like I think 19, which was almost 10 years ago now. And so when I hear you saying like that was something that you were experiencing when you were like 4, and then you played a bunch of first person shooter games along the way, it's no wonder that you're so cracked at the games in the first place. But so okay, so Halo 2 was your favorite. When you played Halo 3, were you like starting to get a little bit like sweaty at that point? Were you playing like a lot of the ranked stuff, or?
So you are right how I went pretty fast. So I didn't even really. I mean, I'm not even sweaty at Halo 2 technically. It's like I don't even have that much time. I just really, when I look at it, when I play at it, I do think that's the peak experience. But I'm not someone who put a lot of hours in that, or even Halo 3. It's like I could go get on Halo 3 and go against like some of my friends and stuff who are really known on that, and like they're gonna destroy me. But I didn't put any time into that. Like it was not really until MCC, like with Halo 2 Anniversary and Halo 5, where I really started putting the time in, started getting better. But those I was mainly campaign, custom games. I think I had like 3,000 custom games in
Wow,
Halo
yeah.
3. And I don't know like if you got to play the casual type of custom games, but I was playing like the casual ones, like with Infection, like I think it was like Fat Kid Hide and Seek, like all
Yeah, yeah.
those just random.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that, and I got to play a little bit of those type of things. But I stopped swimming, and I was swimming competitively, and then I came into Halo, and Halo 3 was like my competitive release. Like I got to go from
Yeah.
like trying to win a swimming race to like trying to get a 50, and it was like the best thing possible for me because it was just super competitive. And I'm from Australia as well, so the connection played a really big thing of that. Australians love
Yeah, I can imagine.
but yeah, so okay, so then it was Halo 2, you said, where like the Halo 2 anniversary is when you kind of started getting a little bit more into it.
Yeah, that's where I got my first 50. I had a team on there that was pretty good. I like those friends, they don't play anymore, but one of them even went to Dallas, got a second place in a FFA land. Like, I don't know where he went, but like I did have some good friends that introduced me into like how to sweat. Like, and I met them on Destiny actually somehow, but
Cool, cool.
they were really hard on me, but I do think like them being hard on me is what got me into a good attitude with, just taking Halo more seriously.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. So okay, and then I want to connect the dots. When you say that you got into like content creation, how did you start? Did you start with streaming and like just kind of do it through your Xbox, or were
So
you like YouTube first, or like how did it go down?
So the same day I started YouTube and streaming, and it was actually the very first. It was called Warzone Warlords, which was a mandatory. You had to search in a team of 12, and only teams of 12 could search. And the very first day, that's actually, I finally had my PC ready. I never had a PC and never had any streaming equipment. But by the time I, saved up, got that, I was, ready to go by the first Warlords, and that was a very good way to start. Like it was like my first stream, I was averaging 30 viewers, which your very first stream
Wow.
ever, that's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause a lot of people already kind of knew who I was with, especially like I guess my gamer tag. Like, do you know my gamer tag?
Is it
Yeah, I
NAS?
guess.
Nows? Nows?
Yeah, so I guess like we could reference that, but my gamer tag is just NAS or Nas, and he's a famous hip hop artist. Like if you guys don't know, and I got that when they reset the gamer tags in like 2016. There's a huge reset of all these basically old gamer tags like that were unused. Like people had them on the original Xbox. They just released them, and that's how I got it. He's one of my favorite hip hop artists, and I thought that was a cool tag. It's not
Yeah,
the best for being noticed, I guess, but a lot of people it stands out, and I like the tag.
yeah, yeah. That's really cool. Do you think they'll ever do something like that again with the gamer tags?
Well, right now they have some weird system where it's like if you make a new tag or something, it has like the numbers. It's like a hashtag number system. I don't really know. I'm never gonna mess with it. I don't really care about gamer tags. Like not even that Nas one really is like a big deal to me, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, because I remember back in the day that like having a cool gamer tag was like something that a lot of people focused on. And you wanted like the OG, right? Like you wanted stuff without any of the like
Yeah.
X's and O's on the other side, which younger me was a fiend for. I used to have OX, XO, and everything like everywhere on the tag. But and like
Yeah.
the using L's as lines and everything like that.
Yeah.
But that's a blast from the past actually. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how that side of things works with the numbers and stuff afterwards. But so the game tag was Nas. People are starting to kind of recognize you already because they knew you from like playing against you. You get the computer set up. Warzone Warlords drops. Which, first of all, what did you think of that as a playlist? Like, do you think that was a really cool thing that they implemented into Halo 5 Warzone?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start why I even got into Warzone. I guess we should go that first. It's like, okay, I was sweating in Halo 5. I had a bunch of champs. You can check my previous history. Like I was getting into FFA, Slayer, and I started to get really good, and I started to meet better players. And I eventually met this one group of players that like it's kind of hard to explain to like maybe like a lot of people that don't understand like outside of the pro circle. But there's a lot of like arena sweats that are like they've always been around for a long time. They don't really go to lands. They maybe don't even care to go pro. But there's these people, these names that have always been around and always been sweaty. It's like I'll give a few name drops, but El Flaco Fleas. You'll see a lot of pros like even snipe down main account over El Flaco Fleas, and he was like number one on Halo 3 leaderboards or
Wow.
B11. Like these guys have been known for a long time, and I meet this group of like players who basically they would get their champs, they'd sweat on arena for a lot of the day, and then they would chill together in a 12-man Warzone team for a few hours, and we would just beat everyone, right? And I guess basically we made a team that was so dominant and like we never lost. We were seen as the best, and that's basically what set up this Warzone Warlords. Is the team was called Dominated, right? That was
Mm.
the team name, and it was led by Wasp Almighty. Again, he was friends with Naded. A lot of people knew who Wasp was. He actually did stream some Warzone, but he's been around the community for a long time. And like this team we had was just a bunch of just people who have been around the scene for about a decade. There's a few new people like me, and we were basically the target. Like that's what made this stream is we were the target.
Mm.
And the very first Warzone Warlords, it's a kind of a funny meme, but I said we're not taking a one loss,
Mm.
and we went 96-1.
Oh no.
And guess what? How we lost? So we played this one team 16 times, and they finally got one fluke win on us.
Oh
So,
wow. Yeah.
but
And yeah, man, that's crazy because
yeah,
I played a bunch of Warzone, trying to get 152, and it's the most. I was always playing solo, so it was the most painful thing ever.
oh yeah,
Right? But then they had the variants of what's the Warzone Assault, where it's like
way
just
better. Yeah, I
dude,
like that way better. It's
so
more
much
like
better.
Halo.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it was also like playing it solo. Like I'm a fairly good player, so I could have more of an influence on what was happening. You know, I could like
Yeah,
if my teammates were terrible, I can bait my team a little bit more and at least like enjoy myself. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Whereas
More
like
gun
when you,
skill orientated too.
yeah, yeah, it's like and you kind of like as you progress through, if you're like dominating enough, then you actually can get better weapons and make it work. So kind of I really like that. But so when do you know when did Warzone Warlords come out? When was that a thing?
So this is the very first time it came out in 2017, and it just really I mean it took off. There was only about four of them I think in total. There's only four events of it, and the crazy part about it is like just after that first one, there was a lot of teams and groups that wanted to like dethrone us. It
Yeah,
developed into a whole scene where there's a bunch of videos like where I have a bunch of teams and companies that went against us, and it just got crazier and crazier each one, and eventually the third one was pretty crazy. But
yeah,
the second one, we actually had pros at the time, and they're still pros. We had Hook and Trippy on our team
yeah,
because we have connections with them. We were friends with them, and other teams had other pros, and they started jumping in. That was pretty fun. But
yeah,
eventually, by the third Warlords, my team was pretty bored. They eventually didn't care as much, and we actually did lose to a team.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
team was called Allegiance, and it's just crazy how all these teams will form and then fall over time. Like that's one thing you've noticed. It's like a lot of these teams back in the day, they're not existent anymore. I guess like it's been weird to see. It's like I'm one of the last few that's still playing, still in Halo right now, and a lot of those players aren't here anymore.
Yeah,
Hopefully they come back for Infinite.
yeah. It's like the Xbox Live gamertag graveyard thing as well. When you scroll through the list and all these people offline. it's a,
For real, for real.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So okay, so because we were talking, you started that like in line with your streaming as well, and then you
yeah.
started off with like 30 people in there straight away, which is I think one good, really good thing for people that watch the podcast is a lot of people watch because they want to get like an idea of how content creators that they see all the time got to where they are. Right. So a lot of people are like, I streamed for a long time and then I, had 5 viewers and then,
I talk about this a lot on my stream, but number one thing is you have to be different. You have to. I mean, if you really want to start growing, and I'm obviously right now not like trying the best to grow, but like if you truly want to grow though, I've seen it. We're gonna talk about the Fortnite scene in a bit, but if you truly want to see it, like you got to be different. You got to set yourself apart, like where basically you make content that no one else is making, or it's just your unique spin to it.
yeah,
And no one
100%.
was doing Warzone, no one was doing BTB, but also having a good personality side of things. I've noticed that, like, and that's something I've been trying to work on. At the time, it was no face cam. It was just I'm playing with a team of 12 people in my party. I'm not interacting.
Yeah,
I'm just winning. And over
yeah.
time, I've tried to put a cam on, interact. That's been nice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I noticed I jumped into stream a bunch of times, and just because I like to try to keep track of like lots of people that are streaming Halo, right, and that I think are doing a good job. And I noticed that you did a really good job of talking to your audience, right, like talking to the people in chat, but also you had some really good relationships with regular people. And even just when I was there and like listening to the way that you were talking to people, it made me feel like I wanted to come back and interact in the chat so that I could be one of those people. You know what I mean? So like creating
Yeah, and I appreciate hearing that because I actually have really tried to change like how I've done that. Like I guess I was not like that initially. The
Mm,
first year or like even 2 years, I had a very toxic community actually. We could go over this a while, but I had stream snipers, doxers, and harassers, and the gamer tags they made, and like I had even like Baby J, for example, play with me. Like, and these dudes get people on our team. I guess there was a time where they limited it on the regular Warzone playlist where you had to only search in a six-man team when it's a 12 versus 12 team.
yeah.
So there would be games where a there'd be basically three teams of six people trying to troll us. We'd
Mm,
be in our own little team of six, and then there'd be six people on our team splattering us, and 12 people on the other team stream sniping and trying to, beat us. And
wow. Yeah.
that's actually really what made this stream take an extra, I'd say it went from at the time like 70, 80 viewers to like 100, 120. Is just people just saw these crazy games where sometimes we'd actually pull these wins on these scenarios where it's a 6v20 18 basically, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that was very entertaining at the time.
So why do you think that happened? Do you think that was because you guys were so dominant that everyone was just like, nah?
That's one reason, because it's not like I really was like, yeah, sure, I had some banter and shit talk, everyone does. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more egotistical at the time, but there was no, like, it's not like I was toxic, like as in doing like alts against people or doxing. I've never been like that, and
Yeah.
it was mainly because we were the best team, and
Yeah.
there was some jealousy, and people saw people also saw how I reacted at the time. That's another thing, is I gave very good reactions. Like
Mm,
I didn't like losing. It was very hard for me to lose at the time, and kind of a perfectionist about it. And I'd rage a lot and get mad when these people were splattering me and stuff like that. So
yeah. Yeah. So okay. So if you're for people that don't know, right? When you're talking about getting doxed and stream sniped, what does that mean?
the doxing is pretty. It's not chill, but I've gotten used to it. But basically, doxing is like I have these people who they know my address. They will go on Google Maps, take a photo of like my house, and like they will literally make accounts on Xbox and put my photo of my house and my address as the gamer tag. And like they'll do that stuff. They'll follow me with my phone number. They'll follow me with my IP address on the stream so everyone sees it.
No
It's
way.
just stuff like that. That you can't make it up, right? It's stuff like that, and I've gotten used to it. I don't really give as much of a reaction. I kind of laugh at it because everyone in my stream basically knows all that stuff, and it's just something I can't hide.
Yeah.
But for bigger people, like that could be very dangerous. Like swatting, like where
Yeah.
swatting is where people call a SWAT team. And that's real and that's horrible, and it's not cool. And I do think some of it relates to the Warzone environment in general, the community. But I've tried to, at least my stream, I've tried to make it a positive environment, so where that is not allowed, and I've been pretty successful with it.
Do you know what I'd love to see? I'd love to know how many people have been converted. You know what I mean? Like how many people came into your stream at the start, like, fuck this guy, right? And they're like on your team trying to splatter you, trying to do whatever. And then they realize that they're still in your stream. You know what I mean? Like they're no longer angry and then they're still watching. And then like 6 months later, they're in the chat and they're actually like a part of it. And then now, when you kind of squashed all of that, how many people are still there that started as haters originally, like started as that negative vibe?
Yeah, yeah, it can happen both ways too. Like some people like the more me giving reactions and being a little bit more like, I guess shit talking and raging. Some people like that a little bit more back in the day. And we'll see a little bit on Infinite. Like, Infinite, I'm gonna have that a little bit more. I want to be more competitive because it's back. People are coming back. It's gonna be more relevant. But I've also, obviously calmed down and like just realized it's not that big of a deal. Like, just don't give a reaction.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So what are your thoughts on Infinite so far?
I mean, so I want to go over the arena and BTB separately.
Yep.
Arena overall, and let's talk about the competitive settings. But arena, like when it comes to the mechanics itself, so how fast the walking speed is, the sprint, just the clamber, all that.
Yeah.
I think it might be the best movement in the series. Like, yes, we don't have thrust. That's the one casualty, but not having the shoulder charge, not having the ground pound, and I just think really the movement right now is a perfect balance for the veterans that really like the non-sprint, and then also the newer players that like sprint. I think the mechanics right now are nearly perfect.
Yeah.
Now we do see some debates on the strafe speed. I'm seeing that start to. I see Frosty talking about it. I see pros mentioning it, but I think it still keeps a higher skill ceiling when there's that really fast strafe speed, because I still think technically at the end of the day, even if it can be hard for some people to hit, there's going to be some people out there who are going to hit those shots on that strafe speed. You know, there's
Yeah.
going to be some people who are going to use their movement also to hit shots with that strafe speed. And I think it should stay where it's at.
Yeah.
But
The one thing I'll just add to that, because I'm curious in your opinion, as far as the strafe speed goes, right? The more
yeah,
that I've thought about it, and that like Frosty's saying that the strafe speed, he seems to be the main kind of person that keeps bringing it up.
yeah,
And everyone's kind of agreeing or disagreeing with him. But I feel like it's like trying to answer why a lot of the weapons felt inconsistent. And I think that that's like if you mix the fact that there was like bloom and a fast strafe speed, you got inconsistencies in the weapons.
oh, the bloom is it? Yeah, that's so yeah, that bloom on the pistol, that was my number. Like, I guess the weapon balancing was going to be the point here. So it's like the mechanics I think are nearly perfect out of the box.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the bloom on that pistol, and luckily the competitive team won't have to worry about it, but that bloom is, it's not doable. I'd say there need to be 3 adjustments to that pistol to make it viable. It'd have to be no bloom. The clip size would have to go from like 12 bolts to like 15,
Mhm.
and then a little bit of a range increase, just a little, because it never competes against a BR commando.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, it never does.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so that's really good because that's kind of what I meant, right? Is like you don't need to, I don't think that the strafe speed necessarily needed to be lowered. I think that the bloom and the strafe speed's the issue. So like I feel like if you fix the bloom, then the aiming at someone strafing faster becomes easier, right? Because like
Yeah.
if you've got your aim lined up and you're like trying to hit these shots, and then you have to fight against the fact that some of the shots are missing, but not because of your aim, because of the bloom, right? That's when like the strafe speed can be really frustrating. Because like, no, like, you know, I can't hit this person, right?
Yeah, I didn't really acknowledge that bloom on the pistol until I lost the game 49-50 when I should have gotten a double kill. I slowed the stream down. I look at my aimer on this guy's head, shoot twice at his head, and they both miss. I would have won that 50-49 game. And
Yeah,
we lost it, and I showed it on stream. I'm like, what was I supposed to do there? That, like, it literally was on his head, shot him twice there, slow-mo, you can see it. That's what changed my view. I'm like, yeah, that pistol actually does need to be changed. It does.
yeah. Well, because I think it's good to point that out though, like when we're talking about arena, and then we're talking about the difference between competitive and social, right? Because I think that for competitive games, there shouldn't for a competitive game. This is just my opinion. I'm curious what yours is. There should be absolutely no point for RNG to play a part, right? It should be no random.
I completely agree. Yeah, no
like,
RNG.
yeah,
That's when we talk about Fortnite, we can mention some of that because I hate RNG. But yeah, RNG.
yeah. Well, for competitive, like especially because if you're putting so much effort into getting players to call out properly, to get advanced movement in the game, to get them focusing on accuracy, map control, and then
that's what made Halo always an amazing, skillful game. Is it's always been very low on the RNG. Always, it's always had consistencies with everything on across the board. It's always there's always been issues they've had to fix, but overall, when I view Halo, I view it as a consistent game. You consistently are going to do, everything's going to be very, it's not going to be changing all the time. It's not going to be RNG, like you said. It's going to be a very consistent. You know what to expect when you pick up a certain weapon, when you go a certain place, when you know a certain spawn system, all that.
Yeah. So I think cool parts. BTB thoughts. Unless you had more you wanted to add for arena.
Well, yeah, I think my stream, and I mean, I started to see a lot of success with I started playing with a lot of sweaty players, and we started going into a lot of sweaty teams, and I saw my stream to have a lot of success there, and I had more fun on arena, to be honest. Like, people think I just like BTB or Warzone. I had way more fun on arena, and I've been saying I can't do this arena on Halo 5 because it's on a console, like from, the console's almost a decade old. You're stuck at a 78 FOV, you're stuck at 60 FPS, but on PC, it's a whole different deal. And I loved Arena. I loved it. And Halo 5 would be sick on there, but we know they never brought that on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so BTB, I don't see it that much fun in a small group, especially solo. There's absolutely no way you can carry, absolutely nothing you can really do to change the game by yourself. But team versus team, we didn't really see that, even though we had people trying to match. We didn't really get to see that, but I think that BTB is going to be very good for team versus team stuff. I think it's set up in a way where we could see some advanced stuff because you have stuff like that shock rifle that spawns next to the flag, on that base that, like, you're going to have someone good with that, designated, getting that and keeping track of that. Maybe someone always getting that grapple, making sure they have that on lockdown so you can't steal a vehicle or you can't make a crazy play with that. And I think there's going to be a lot of strats to that, but we're going to have to see.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but the pistol starts again. There's bloom on it, and if we're gonna have BR starts in arena, it makes no sense that we're not gonna have BR starts in
BTB.
BTB when the map's massive, and it makes no sense to me at this point.
I think the reason why is because of how fast the BR beams at long range, and I think that's like they're trying to make it a little bit more fast paced by bringing the fights into a medium range. Because like if you're the sniping was more difficult in Infinite, right?
It's
So
probably the hardest sniper in the series, I think, probably for
yeah,
a
I
good way. I like it. I like
I,
it.
I like yeah,
That's hard.
I've got no issue with the sniper being
Yeah.
difficult, but what that meant is that if you don't hit your sniper shots and you can't get in, like there's no way to get to cover, the BR just beams you in like it's literally
Well,
like 2 seconds long range.
I mean, I actually think the BR might be. I think I hear a bunch of people talking about aim assist is not existent in that game, but I'm pretty good at mouse and keyboard, and the difference between mouse and keyboard and controller is it's night and day. If you pick up a controller, it's I was beaming with every weapon, and that BR I do think it has to be toned down a little bit,
Yeah.
honestly. But
I just yeah, but that's the only thing because I think BTB should have BR start. Sorry, the issue that I saw with it though is that every time that I picked up a BR, I could go on a spree because if I just played my position on the map better, like properly, people can't challenge back because it just had such a fast TTK. Like
yeah,
and and the bullet there was like no bullet spread at range. You know what I mean? Like you know
yeah,
in
exactly.
in other games when you're using the BR, you've got to kind of lead it a little bit. Like you've got a little bit of that. Like you've got to kind of think about where the third shot of the 3 rounds would go. You know what I mean? Out of the
Oh,
burst
I mean,
fire.
it's dead accurate. It's
Just like
there's it's just insane. It's a laser. The aim assist is. I mean, Snipe Down had that one clip where I don't know if you saw it, but he was AFK. And some people thought it was his mouse and keyboard, but no, it was because he hit his mouse and keyboard when he walked away. So it was like it showed it in the UI,
mm,
but it was still his controller, and he's AFK. And you see his. It's not even you know, there's no red aim assist there, but you see the reticle just like moving on a dude, even though he's AFK on the spawn and it's across the map, and it was just like
yeah,
it's way too much.
yeah.
I don't know why people say there's no aim assist. No, there is in that game. A whole
That
lot.
I think I saw. I think I saw Uni post about that, and he said that that was like a glitch for when you're still. Like, so if you're moving, it doesn't have the same effect. But like when you're not, when the player's completely dead still, that it does that, but it doesn't
So it
actually.
has wait, so it has more aim assist when you're standing still. Is that something I don't know about?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'll see if I can
I'll
find the
just
tweet and I'll send it to you. But yeah, he was saying something about that it's literally in the feed. If you find that tweet, like you know how the video,
okay.
if you find
Yeah.
that and you look through it, there's like no, this is like a like a thing that we're working on, and it's about yeah. Anyway, it was about if there's no movement, then the controller will do that. But it's not so much adding aim assist as it is just tracking. So like if you then tried to actually move, like stand still and move, it's not adding to the aim assist. It's just like it's not pulling back and forward. It's just because the aim wasn't moving that it moves it.
I guess that makes a little sense. Yeah, it's just regardless, it felt like the BR had too much range for
Oh yeah.
like what they're going with the game. Like it's just the range was a little too much.
What did you think about the vehicles for
So the
the?
vehicles are very interesting. I like how they made the Ghost insane. The Ghost is game changing. It's like the best vehicle in the game. I lost a game because someone got a Ghost, and that thing's crazy. You have to have someone in that thing at all times. But Banshee, it's a 2 bomb kill. We've never seen that in the series where it kills in 2 bombs. It's really slow to use. They made it so mouse and keyboard has no effect compared to a controller. There's no that could maybe be good because the things I was doing on mouse and keyboard, like Halo Reach, was just
Yeah,
absurd
yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
vehicle. But regardless, the Banshee doesn't seem too good. The tank was pretty good. The Warthog's in a place where it does things, unlike the last few Halos where it was useless. I like where the Hog's at,
Yep,
but we never got to try the Wraith or the Brute Chopper, and I'm excited to see those.
yep. Same. Yeah, I think I agree with you as well. I actually really liked the Ghost. What did you think about the balance of the? So there was obviously a lot of vehicles that kept coming in, and like
Well,
I said,
yeah, I mean, the one thing that's disappointing is, and I think they did this on purpose, even though they didn't say anything, but they did not have any of the big vehicles like a Banshee, a Wasp, or a tank spawn until 5 minutes left on any match.
yeah,
So you have to play 10 to 12 minutes for those vehicles to show up. And I purposely think they did that so farming didn't happen in the fight.
yeah.
I think that's why they did it, even though they didn't say it. But if that's how it's going to be, I think you're never going to be in a tank or a banshee then if that's how it's going to be in like the game. And I'm not saying they need to be everywhere, but I do think they need to be a little bit more like every 3 minutes or something, not
Yeah.
10 minutes into the match. But I
Yeah.
also think a good idea would be to have a loot garage. Like, how there was those little loot caves with weapons?
Yeah.
A loot garage with like some vehicles would be pretty good idea, I think. On
Yeah.
some maps, we'll see.
I understand. I like that idea as well because it could be like outside of the field of play. So like you're sacrificing you're outside of play
And
to
yeah,
get
and
it.
I'd maybe say 2 people have to like be sitting there, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna get a tank or something, maybe make it a little bit more teamwork oriented instead of one person doing it. Maybe two have to do a
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah, cool. I think that's cool. That's a great idea. As far as there was so much on the map that could do damage to vehicles, right? So like you had in some instances the obviously active camo, which could make a really big difference. You've got the grapple hook that was just like literally you could take over anything if you had the grapple hook in a vehicle out. You had the electric grenades that just completely stopped.
Those are nuts. Those are
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
I loved those personally, but like, what did you think about the amount? Like, you got the skewer that was just like a dominate weapon. It's like I loved.
Yeah, and then the shock rifle. That's the
shock
key one.
rifle, the sniper was doing a lot of damage. Like, what did you think about the amount of things that could take out the vehicles? Do you think that was a pretty good balance?
So I don't have a full opinion. I don't think many people have an actual full opinion when it comes to the BTB like sweaty community because we never got to see real
Team versus
good matches. Like it never really happened. It was disappointing. We even had people in my stream. I had no delay. We had countdowns going on. We had people all trying to match, and they never went down. Like there's a few like smaller teams that got to do it, but we're just gonna have to see. We don't know how it's because the people that I know of, like they're gonna go into custom games and like map out where everyone's going, what they're doing, their roles, and we can't see that yet. So we're gonna have to see how it really plays in like a real environment with that.
the competitive side. Yeah, I get it.
But it is pretty. You're right though. Like one weapon you didn't mention that grew on a lot of players, even in arena, is that Ravager actually.
Definitely.
That Ravager, I didn't like it at first, but if you don't shoot the whole, like you can hold it down and shoot that fireball, that's useless. But if you use it like basically you have to hit them, I think like 3 times. So it shoots that 2-round burst, I think, but you have to hit them 3 times with it, and it needs to like directly hit them.
Yeah.
So that's insane at close range. But also has that bayonet on there. That bayonet has more range for a melee. So I think that thing, I was always picking it up on BTB and even on arena. I'm thinking that thing's actually, I don't know if it's going to be in the comp scene, but that thing's nuts.
Yeah, I noticed it in the HCS settings. It was on the wall, but no one was picking it up. I noticed that because I thought about the same thing.
I didn't think it was good at all. And then once I started knowing how to use it, I think it's going to be seen a lot more.
Yeah. It had I thought it was probably the weapon that needed the most balancing because I just noticed so many inconsistencies where like there were times where I could directly hit someone twice and get the kill. And then there were times where I was like just three.
Well, I learned you got to lead it. Like it's something you can't use at mid range. Like once I learned that you had to directly hit them, you can't shoot their feet. You can't shoot. There's no real splash damage. Once I learned you had to directly hit them and you had to lead it, that's when I learned how good it was. That's when I'm like, okay, this thing's nuts.
It tore up vehicles like warthogs, especially. Like if you could take out a warthog if you hit all of the 2 bursts for 3 shots, you could pretty much take out a warthog. You need to put it into what's it called, the meltdown mode.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that meltdown mode. I guess it allows your streaks to go a little bit longer because you know when your thing's about to blow up. So I like that.
Yeah, I thought it was cool as well. Thought it was cool. So okay, I want to get back to the streaming and the content creation side of things because you're partnered on Twitch, right?
Yep.
And you've got, I think you're coming up on like 8,000 subs on YouTube. I want to know, like, from when you first started and you had those 30 viewers and then it kind of built up to like 70 or 80 and then got to that point where you're having over 100 people in the stream. What does the journey look like for that? Is it just
so yeah, I want to talk about that and then leading into the Fortnite. So basically, if you really, and I'm not doing this now, so I'm like, I don't want people to use me as an example with this, but if you really want to grow everything, the most important platform out there, like when it comes to anything to grow and outsource your material and your followers, is YouTube. And at the time, I was really dedicated to YouTube, and there were so many interesting matches that people had never seen anything like that with Warzone. Like, we were all the innovators of Warzone, and even BTB and Halo 5. Like, my teammates and we made everything. We made all the meta and the strats, and and like once we started releasing the videos and on my channel and stuff, like everyone started watching those games and how those strats were played, how weapons were used, and like that really took up the channel. And that like I started seeing a bunch of people enter the stream that were from the YouTube, and that's really how you got to do it. Is like you want to grow your YouTube to grow your like Twitter and your Twitch.
Yeah, cool. And so is that something that you're going to put more time into yourself, like leading into that?
I do see. I like the streaming and like the more comp side of things right now. YouTube's a huge grind for me. Like if I really want to do it, and I think I might do just the gameplay videos. Which for me, gameplay videos, they can be interesting, but it's not the content that would grow. If I want to grow, I'd do like guide videos and tip videos and like, okay, what are the best weapons to do? What's this meta? Like how to play this map? What's the strat for, you know? That's the stuff that I was really good at. That's the stuff that it takes a lot of time for me. Like, you know, it would take hours just to edit it, hours to make the, the thumbnail, upload it and all that. And I would probably rather want to put time into streaming, getting better initially at least, and just upload gameplay videos of like good matches and stuff. But if you want to grow, you got to do stuff like that. The ones that you're going to sacrifice your game time and your stream time, but put it onto YouTube.
Yeah. And then, so, okay, you had that bit of growth, and then why did you go to the Fortnite side of things? Did you notice that Halo was starting to die?
Okay, so this was when I was still really wanting to, like, I had a really insane motivation with content creating at the time, and I honestly saw a bigger vision than, like, a lot of people were seeing. It's like I didn't want to stay with Halo. I wanted to go to something that actually really gave you the real potential of growing, and I had no mouse and keyboard experience. I didn't know how to play mouse and keyboard, and within 2 weeks of mouse and keyboard on Fortnite, that was free to play. That was the first game I started getting into. I started with Season 1, and there's been nothing like Fortnite. Like initially, let's talk initially, that is, I think the peak, like let's go Season 2, I think that's the best gaming experience I've ever played.
Wow.
Ever. Like I would take Season 2 Fortnite over any game I've ever played.
Wow.
But it's changed the whole industry. Like with content creating, with how companies make games, with DLC, with everything has changed because of that game. The whole thing, everything. But yeah. So I started Season 2. I went from Xbox Season 1 to Season 2 on mouse and keyboard, and by the time I was 2 to 3 weeks in, I was competent enough to at least stream and start making videos mouse and keyboard. And coincidentally, I am playing a solo squads game on stream. At the time, didn't really have friends on PC yet, and I at the time would die to people and like check their stats, see how they're doing, and eventually I died to someone who I think like looked good stat-wise. I hit them up in their stream, and he turned out to be one of my good friends named OK Steel, and he had a buddy, and we started playing together, started doing squads, and he had a Halo background. He's always played Halo too, coincidentally. He's a bit older, I was younger at the time, like, what, 21? He's like 27, so he's older, more experienced, and we just had the same kind of goal here. We were just like, we noticed how good we were getting. We would win 80% of our squad games. In pub games, we were winning 80%.
Yeah.
And we started to do this thing called, I think, what was it? It was some little lame... It wasn't like a real official, like, big, like, tournament thing at the time, but there was a small group doing squad scrims where you go into a Discord. There would be like 24 squads or 25 squads of 4, and they'd all try to match in a lobby at the same time. And the only way, like, you would ever get noticed is if you were, like, #1 on the leaderboard. And our team, when we got into that, we were #1. So we got #1 in that thing, and then we hear about this Discord that Myth, Myth, TSM Myth, we hear about this guy's making a Discord where they are going to start the first squad scrims out of anyone in this new game. This game's just starting to really pick up, and we were #1, they picked us up, and it just got crazy because, like, when you are going against people, like, when you're in a lobby and you see, Tfue, you see Ninja, you see TSM, you see all these players, and like the potential to grow if you win or like kill one of them, I just don't think many people have experienced something like that. Like when you, and I have games on my YouTube where we win those games, like where we beat those players and like win, and at the time it was the most insane thing ever. Like it was just a type of growth that like, and it was more like a hypomania. It was like a type of growth that no one in the content scene has seen before. But basically, we were good enough to where we did get a signed salary contract. Like they basically asked like the FaZe team, who do you think is, unsigned best team? And We did get a contract. I was on there. I did have some health issues come up, and like I could not fully commit to the contract, and that was very unfortunate. But eventually, you know, Epic Games, after being in those discords for what, about 6-7 months, they announced that there's no squad tournaments. They're doing singles and solos. And that was basically the end of that, like for squads. But the craziest thing, biggest lessons I learned from that is that content creating and streaming in a long-term thing is a very hard thing to do, and it can be a very fleeting thing when it comes to success. I mean, there was hundreds of people that I knew, like just name-wise and stuff, that like at the time they either had a lot of potential to grow or they were growing, and right now they don't stream or game anymore. And this was only like 3 years ago. Like people who were partnered getting thousands of viewers, and they're not there anymore. They don't even do it. It's crazy.
Why do you think that is?
It's either they weren't good enough anymore, and you know that all their viewers went to someone else. Either Fortnite was their only game and they had no potential anywhere else, and you know, and then how demanding the game could be, like scrimming all day, it can burn you out. How unhealthy a lifestyle can be if you're scrimming all day and not working out, not caring about your diet, not having balance.
Yeah,
mental health was with a lot of them. Like I saw a lot of people that are just, they're not there anymore, and it's crazy. And one thing I like about Halo is how consistent the community is, and how, you know, it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be supportive of a lot of people. Like where that game, it's just games like that, it's insane to be like standing out and on top. It takes a lot.
yeah, I can see what you mean. And you're right. When you look at the Halo, like the people, if you go to MCC or Halo 5, you're looking at some of the like the same people that have been doing it for years now. You know, like whether they're blowing up or not. And also there's been a lot of growth, I think, in the last, like, especially the last year for the Halo scene, and now instead of having just a few people with a few hundred, we've got a lot of people with, you know, between 50 and a few hundred. And I think it will hopefully only help everybody grow more. You were saying that kind of like hyper growth with Fortnite and being in those like really hyper competitive lobbies with those big names like Tfue and Ninja and that type of thing. Do you think that the way that Halo Infinite is gearing up now, there's the potential for that type of thing to happen again?
So I have always been realistic about this for years now. Like I haven't just like changed, but I've always said like people have maybe unrealistic expectations, saying it's going to be the biggest game of all time. It's going to dethrone all these games and be the number one. Like, yeah, maybe if there's a battle royale, and we can discuss that in a second. But like, if it's going to launch how it is without a battle royale, people got to just be happy for the game, like that it's going to be bigger. And if they enjoy it, they just got to have fun with it and not really care as much about the Twitch numbers or the YouTube numbers, because eventually a few months after, it's not going to be getting, you know, 100,000 viewers on Twitch. Like we should be happy, I guess, around the 5,000 to 10,000 range. If it's hitting that like 6 months after, if we're 6 months after and we're 5,000, 10,000, obviously I want more, but like, unless there's going to be more content coming along and the game 2 years from now, like this is a work in progress. I can already tell you this ain't launching how it should be.
Yeah, of course. We know that.
Once they add more stuff, and since it's free to play on PC, that's a huge growth potential. Like, yeah, maybe we really could be getting 5,000 and then maybe peak nights 15,000, and that's pretty good. I mean, I just, arena shooters in general, I don't think they're it right now. Arena shooters, I think they're, what do we have? We have Overwatch, and then we have Splitgate making a, like a, you know, that's it. We have Halo, Overwatch, and Splitgate. You can, I mean, tac shooters are going to be like CSGO, Rainbow Six. Those are different, but arena shooters, what else is there? I think they're.
Yeah, you're right. I think yeah. So the point to consider there, I think, is that we know with the competitive side of things, we have 9 already established really huge orgs that have got teams invested into it. What I anticipate and I hope to see from that is that those orgs create a lot of content around it that has viral, like the capacity to be viral.
Yeah, hopefully.
And then that is, because I completely agree with you. It's realistic. I think if we can, I love Destiny as well, and so I try and keep up with like the Destiny community.
Like those are Destiny. What I just said are Destiny numbers. It's getting around the 5,000 to 15,000. That's what it's consistently getting. And that's fine. I mean, it could be way bigger than Destiny if they do this right. It could be. We'll just have to see, because we'll see.
Yeah,
but a battle royale though, I made a tweet in 2018 talking about a battle royale. Apex was not out yet. Call of Duty Warzone was not out yet. None of those were out yet. And I said, if they make a battle royale, Halo will come back. It will be. They missed. I mean, it's still there, the opportunity, but they missed it. They missed it.
Yep. So what
it could have been massive.
in your opinion, what would they need to do to make a successful Halo BR?
Well, I mean, obviously authentic to the Halo experience. Everyone talks about like you dropping an ODSP pod and it's got to have the gun skill orientation and all that. Like I'd say maybe you do spawn in with a pistol at least. Like that would be good for Halo. Like I don't think you should have 0 weapons, probably at least a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about performance wise. I don't know how that's gonna work. Like BTB was already having so many issues with 12v12. Like if we're talking like 100 people on the map, I don't know how that's gonna work. Certainly an older Xbox ain't gonna be able to.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
So I don't know what gameplay functions. Like what they could do is the wrecked variants on Warzone. Maybe have some of those in like looting, like or finding those in chests or whatnot. Maybe. I don't like RNG. Like back to Fortnite, like RNG. Eventually, the game kind of drove me insane. I couldn't do it anymore. I can't play battle royales. It's just I was kind of a perfectionist. And what really got me, I guess, the next level in Fortnite was my solos. And I was at the time winning like 47% of my solos. Like and I'd be in lobbies with like the sweats, these West Coast pro players and all that. And the solo games, that winning 40% of your solo games was
pretty awesome.
Insane, but like it takes a toll on you if you're a perfectionist, and the RNG, like losing to people with better weapons and spawns. And so I guess any way to limit the RNG if possible in a battle royale, that would be the best bet.
So the one of the things that because I put a fair bit of thought into Halo VR, right? And I think one of the things that people would want to see the most is the game still feeling like Halo, right? And so I like the idea of there being just you come in with a pistol, like you said, right? Like with a Magnum, and there's ammo everywhere, right? So that you can consistently at least get into fights with the pistol, right?
Okay, yeah.
Then the same thing is it's like an ammo satchel. So instead of like in other games like Apex and Call of Duty, where you need to have a certain type of ammunition for a certain type of gun, I think that if you could just have like an ammo satchel that's somewhere on the map and it refreshes every whatever, right? And it's fairly consistent and it's not a random thing. It's like there's always like these particular parts around the map that are just places to refresh ammo. That would be really positive, because if you pick up a BR, right, you can then go and refresh your ammunition there, and it's not so much based on having to find another BR or having to find another place to kind of go and loot.
That is true. Yeah.
I think that then it could put it to more of a consistent kind of, like, you could have a more skill-based version of a BR that still is around that Halo kind of gameplay. You know what I mean?
And obviously the shields recharging is something that would be Halo too. It's like all the other BRs, you got to go manually like find shields, like and pop shields. But Halo, you just get your recharge, just recharge. Maybe they would do something like where you get a little bit more shields and they recharge. You get what I mean? It's like you get an upgrade to your shields. Maybe they'll add something like that. But and then they could also, if you want to talk about consistency, make sure there's going to be always those wall weapon spawns. It could be a commando or a BR, I guess. But make those at the same place everywhere, so people could purposely land there. It's like, okay, I'm gonna land on this hill where there's a guaranteed commando or BR. Obviously people are gonna fight for it, but it's like, I'm going here to get this consistent,
I don't think there's any reason why they couldn't try to orchestrate it more, right? So like you could have maybe, I don't know, you'd have to just understand how big the map's going to be, but let's just for conversational sake say that there's maybe 3 places on the map that are like miniature maps, and they're the intended places for the majority of people to land. And in that, there's 1 sniper rifle, right? In each of those locations. So if you want to get a sniper, you have to go there to be competitive.
I guess that's true. So it's like, it would be a weapon spawn that it's there. Okay, yeah, that works.
See what I'm saying? And then like, let's say competitive wise, like if you're dropping in with your squad, all right, we're going to go here because this is a place where we can all loot up with a BR, with sniper, whatever. Someone else can challenge you for that. And there's a benefit to that, is you can actually kick a team out like straight off the bat.
So, I like all that, but what are we going to do about the kids that like RNG? Because the reason why these royales are huge is you have these people who, let's just be honest, they're casuals and they have a small chance of winning because they get this golden RPG or they get this crazy weapon and they get their one little win because they have their luck, their jackpot. So it's like, how are you gonna how are you gonna cater to those people? Because you got to somehow. Like, would there be drop, like on Halo 2 and 3, you'd have these like Pelicans drop weapons down like in these little things. Like, would you have something like that where it drops a random Norn Fang at the very end or something? Yeah, I don't, not a Norn because it's, but you get what I mean.
What's that? What's the shotgun?
The Lawgiver.
Yeah,
well, the Lawgiver is just the second one, which is insane. But Blaze of Glory, that couldn't work. It's too good.
That's what I talked about. But imagine, right? You give a kid just, if your KD's low enough, they just drop you one.
Well, no, not drop you one, but I'm just saying it's just a random drop on the map. Just
I think that could work to an extent, but I think it might even be more of like a positional thing, right? Again, so you could get lucky, right? Like you could have a kid that's in the right place at the right time, but like it would make it known more so than like a loot drop. It's more like at 2 minutes in the game, this place.
Well, yeah, it'd be designated. It's like you'd know when it's dropping, and before it drops, like 30 seconds, it'd be marked. It'd be like a marked like drop, but whatever drops would have to be random though. Whatever's in it, like you don't know exactly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be something good, but you don't know what
exactly what it is. Yeah. Well, again, it's I think all of those talking points are the type of things that, like, if it ever came about, that's the tweaking that needs to be done, right? And
vehicles,
what we talked about could be a ranked mode, right? And then they could have a complete mayhem chaos mode where there's just Norn Fangs and the beam rifle.
I actually am against that because the whole magic about Fortnite and these games is like there was something really fun about being in a lobby, like matching against really good players, but also, being able to I guess, like, let's say 60% of the lobby would be casuals, it'd be horrible. And then 20% would, 20-30% would be able to be all right, maybe hold their own. And that 10% would be the elite players. And I think that's always how it should kind of be. There shouldn't be MMR where 90% of the lobby is just absolutely the sweatiest MMR. Like, that's what the battle royale is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like that. And I think there's something always fun about like saying like, oh, yo, I just see, let's say I see Frosty in the kill feed and like your whole squad's like, or your solo, whatnot. And like, oh, I got to get really ready to fight Frosty. That's what made them kind of fun battle royals. That's what I liked about them.
Yeah.
Because there's got to be some randomness. I don't like battle royales. I don't play them anymore. But like, if they're going to do it, if you're going to split it up too much, if there's a ranked and a social battle royale, it just needs to be one mode.
Okay, I like that. And well, that's a good question for like the arena style of Halo Infinite, because it's something that I'm passionate about, is ranked versus social and how the MMR works in both. Like right now, we know that the way that it's meant to be is you can play social and you're versing people with similar MMR.
Yeah, so MMR, I made videos on it before it was even announced on there. I knew it was there. I made a 20-minute video breaking down the MMR in Halo 5 before it was even people even knew what it was. So it was announced. Like, that's how much that stuff started to trigger me. But same with Fortnite. They didn't, I could tell when it was on. And it's good to have, especially this last flight actually would have been great to have it with these teams trying to match in BTB. It would have been awesome. We would have loved to keep matching team after team. There was none there. Yet on Halo 5, there was times where no one was playing the game and it was strict MMR. So I have a 60-minute video of me trying to search every arena playlist and I couldn't get a game. So I had to send that to Josh Menke and like, here's 60 minutes of me trying to get a game on all the arena playlists and I can't get one.
Yeah.
So he had to adjust that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Well, because I think my big thing is that I think social, there needs to be a social aspect. Like, I think there has to be like a, it's like an all-in brawl. If everyone just went into public and everyone just started beating the shit out of each other, that's what social should be. Like, you should, there's.
Well, there shouldn't really be MMR. There could be a light gap to it. It's like maybe it's like the bottom like 20%, the 30% like can't match the top 70%, and maybe like, or it's something just there has to be maybe a light gap. It's like, okay, if you're in the bottom 10%, you can only match up to 70 percentile, and if you're in the top, if you're 100 percentile, you can only match down to 30 percentile. Maybe something kind of a little complicated, but like a little safe gap to the people who are really going to get destroyed and the new players.
But even then, I think there should be the exception for getting dominated. Like, I love the idea that I verse someone who is so much better than me that it makes me, after the game, go into theater and want to watch from their perspective and go, how in the world did they kill me? right?
Well, that's how we are. That's how like people who just want to get better. But like you get a new player on who's giving Halo, it's free to play. It's their first
Yeah, you
chance,
took
and
a
they
fight.
go against
Yeah.
someone like me or a pro. Like me and BTB are pro in arena, and they lose 0 to 50 or get goosed, and I'm
Yeah.
not playing this ever again. And so that's what that was like Josh Menke's big point.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, but again, that's why I think that the rank side of things should have be as strict as it is, because like it should be close to the point where you can like play, chill, relax, kind of practice, you know, get your aim together in social, and then when when you're ready to go, okay, I'm gonna go sweaty, I'm gonna go like balls to the wall here. You go into ranked and you start playing against people that are at your level and you're trying to improve. Like it's like what makes Halo so tough, especially for Halo 5, is that the population is so low and there is such strict matchmaking, right? But I think about it from like an athletic perspective or a competitive perspective. If I had to go to swimming training when I was training 4 hours a day and all I was allowed to do was just race, like it was just dive in and race, and what dictated my success is that my biggest competition is always there next to me, racing against me. I'm gonna quit in like 2 days. There's no way I'm gonna do that.
It just burns out and it's not as fun. You gotta have some type of chill. Like that's what I mean. We back in the day we'd play a lot of sweaty arena all day and then chill on Warzone and BTB, and you know. I agree. It's like, okay, chances are if the population's somewhat big, they're not going to be going against a team like mine that's going to destroy them instantly. Like they're going to have a lot of games where it's like just a bunch of solo searching or small groups, and eventually maybe go against my team and get smashed. But like, we'll just have to see.
Yeah. Well, you got me on some passionate topics there, so I went a little bit off track, but I'm curious. So the goals for you going forward with like your streaming and everything as well. Like, are you doing this full time at the moment? Like, are you full time content creator?
Not like full time. The thing I'm doing it mainly like I just got to make sure I'm having fun with it. That's the main thing. Like if I just go and actually really grind YouTube, like that's the way I want to do if I wanted to make this a career. But I just think I burn out if I do that. Like it depends how much you love YouTube when it comes to a lot of things, and that's also changed too. Like, have you seen everyone blowing up because of these 30-second clips now?
Yep.
And it's not even people are now what they're doing is a lot of people are uploading just clips from other people, and I'm not being against anyone who's doing that, but it's like that's not why I've ever done that stuff. It's not what I do. It's like 30-second clips is not really what I've seen. I know YouTube needs to adapt and change, and you also need to adapt and change. But YouTube, I always like the 5, 10-minute, maybe 20-minute videos. I always thought that's what YouTube was, and
yeah,
it's changed. It's not how it is anymore.
Completely agree with you. I had Arash on the podcast a few weeks ago now, and he has a lot of content like what you just said, where he's actually got like a Google Drive form, right, that people can just submit clips in. He goes through, finds the best ones, and uploads it. And he's got a Reddit subreddit where again people just submit clips. He does it, and I'm sure he'd be happy with me sharing this because he was a big learning curve for him. His channel got demonetized, and they said you're re-uploading reused content, right? And so it was a point where like I think that YouTube is kind of going to start getting a little bit better at being able to recognize content that is like, I want to say, not adding anything to the niche that it's in, and it's just like
yeah, I mean, I'll keep it real. Like a lot of those, like unless you're like Mint Blitz, like where Mint Blitz clips, I'll give Mint Blitz it. I like his I like. He is the king of this. The third when it comes to the 30-second clips, his is all fine. His is great for Halo. It's if you like campaign, if you like competitive Halo, if you like Halo 1, if you like Halo 5, he does it all, and they're all cool. They're all unique. His channel's great, but for the most part, these other ones, it's just so. It's
see, it's exactly the point I was trying to make, though, right? Like I've had Mint on the podcast as well. I've had Remy on the podcast, and we talked about how long he spends, like 15 hours sometimes coming up with the idea, trying to figure out if it's logical for him to be able to set it up, and then actually doing it. And then figuring out, like, is that entertaining? Is there a way to edit it to make it more entertaining?
See, and that makes sense because for me, it'd be like, okay, I'm gonna make this guide video on this map or this with these weapons, and it would take me exactly what you said, like 15 hours, and or would I rather be streaming and gaming? Like it, I guess some of it can be with ADHD, but like,
yeah, I get you.
It's you gotta understand like the balance between the two.
Yeah, 100%. No, but I agree. Okay, so it's it's not like your big thing that you want to do it full time at the moment, because you've got obviously other stuff that you're working on. But coming into Infinite, do you think that you're going to be like setting out time to like stream a lot, or is
I
it
will make 8 hours a day at least. I
Yeah.
will be taking that. Like I will be streaming 8 hours a day. That is the goal there. 8
Yeah.
hours, no doubt.
That's-
YouTube, I will probably try to at least get 3 videos a week. Like if this had come out 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I would be making a video every day. I would have been doing that, but it's a little bit different now, and definitely 8 hours a day for sure. The stream should be fine. I mean, I really want to know where I'm going to fit with the balance between Arena and BTB, because I have more fun on Arena. But
Yeah.
that might not be the best for my stream, but I had more fun with it. So we'll have to see. And then I will do a BTB part also.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're coming up close to an hour now. I told you that time kind of flies by before we started.
Yeah.
So I always encourage, like, we can do another episode of the podcast and we'll keep chatting about other things, because I had a blast talking with you. But when I wrap it up, I've got a few questions that I usually ask. And one of them is, if you saw yourself kind of 5 years from now, right? What's like the dream reality for you there? What's press look like 5 years from now?
So yeah, like it would definitely be like maybe even graduated from college, or at least close to then. And then I would also say like I'm still in the scene with like YouTube or like streaming. I do want to be the scene. Definitely probably would say want to be in a relationship that's been long term.
Yeah.
Definitely put that in there. And then that's about it. That's where I'll say 5 years from now.
Cool.
That's what it's looking like for me.
Yeah, awesome. So it's fair to say you're not currently in a relationship?
No, not currently.
All right. Anyone watching, you can hit, his DMs. But no, that's cool. All right. And the next one is that I generally ask people to tag someone into the podcast, someone that you think would add value, that'd be cool for me to have a bit of a chat with, and that, their story would be something that other people want to hear about.
All right. So who I would say though is Vision C. He streams some Halo 5. He's also on the Warzone side, but like he would be very unique for you to interview. Like he lives in Germany. People love his accent. Like he's like a little bit older than me. He's like 26, but like I'm like he's also, his YouTube's been growing. He's been doing the clips thing. He's at 10,000 subs now on YouTube, but like he does have like a very interesting personality that I think would be interesting for you to interview.
It'll be a popular podcast just because they'll have an Australian accent and a German accent, and people love both those accents. But no, that's cool. I know of him as well, and it's funny because I've been doing a lot of research and trying to build our YouTube channel up as in Divine Minds, and he's one of the like case studies that I kind of did, and his descriptions for some of his videos are hilarious because he's trying to get
that's what like that's what I'm trying to say is like that's what you know what I mean. Like his descriptions are pretty funny.
Yeah. But I love it, and so yeah, no, I'll definitely hit him up. But if you could maybe just send him a message ahead of time and say, hey, Liam from Divine Mind's going to hit you up about jumping on the podcast, so expect a DM, because otherwise it'll just look like a random message from me. And then I reach out to him. But before we wrap up the podcast, is there anything else that you wanted to kind of talk about? Do you think people should know about you, or you want to kind of get out there?
I mean, so yeah, you'll definitely be seeing me on Infinite, like whether it be on Arena or BTB, but I will be like trying to be a part of like a team. Like I don't know what like companies. We didn't really go over companies or teams as much, but like you will be trying to see me on a team, and I'm going to be trying to be on the best team. And my community already has people that will back like some BTB money tournaments.
Cool.
And I'm going to be playing to win those. Like I got a lot of options when it comes to teams, and we'll find that. But that's going to be one thing I'm really going to be going for, is a good team.
Awesome.
Companies are dead though. They're not going to be on Infinite. They already said that. So
yeah. Well, I love that, and so there's a few people that I work with a lot, and one of the groups is called Infection Hub. If you don't know Infection Hub, I'll give them a quick shout out here because I love the work. They're a bunch of kids from the UK, and they run tournaments all the time.
Yeah, I know the leader of it.
Yeah, competitive infection, and I absolutely love the work they're doing. They stream on our Twitch channel, Divine Mind Twitch channel, every Friday, and we give them money to put on a tournament every single Friday of the week for competitive infection.
Really?
Yeah, and so I love the idea of there being more BTB and big and competitions for exactly that scene, because I think that that's an important way for the Halo community to grow, is if we have all of these little sub communities that have an audience and that people can just enjoy. Like if you don't want to play competitive Arena, if you don't want to play competitive big team, you can play Infection. There's a group that we talked to where they have the Frisbee leagues. They play Halo 5 and they play Frisbee. like frisbee football. There's
Really?
NFL guys, and they play the version of like Halo 5 NFL. And so like they're all communities that I try to kind of dip my hand in a little bit to try and help bring them up, because I think that the more we've got of those things, the more there's a niche
Yeah,
somewhere.
and even from an actual like pure content creation perspective, like people that like a sweaty Warzone game or BTB game, even if you're like you think you're above that, like you'll have people think like, oh, it's Warzone BTB, casual, like, but no, like if you actually see a high level game, it's very interesting and entertaining. It's
Oh,
if you actually literally see a real high level game, it's very entertaining. So that's
cool,
what I'm
sure.
trying to do for Infinite, is like get those games going.
Yeah, awesome. Well, so everybody that's watched the podcast at this point, thank you so much. Like your viewership means absolutely everything for me, and it's one of the reasons why we're still going with the podcast and putting out episodes every single week. Thank you again, Press, for having the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it. All of the
Yep.
links, Press's content is going to be in the description to the video. If you're listening to the podcast on any of the apps, Google or Apple or whatever it is, Spotify, you can click on the description to the podcast, and all of the information will be there as well. Go check his stream out. Go check his YouTube out. Like you said, if you've never ever experienced competitive Warzone before or BTB, you have to check out some of the videos on his channel, because there are some epic things in there. And also go check him out on stream. It's fun to hang out there. Make sure you show him some love and say hi. But
Yep.
thank you again, man. I really appreciate the time coming into it, and I'm sure we'll talk again coming into Halo Infinite. But for everybody that watched the podcast, I will see you on the next episode.